Hello, students. Michael Sanchez here. Thank you so much for watching. Today is Thursday. Last few weeks, we've been doing this class every Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And today I'm going to be talking about a great topic, just some different books and stuff that I recommend to students. And they kind of cover just different areas, that I have students go into at different various ability levels. So hopefully you guys will get some good tips from today. I actually have with us today Professor GM. He's a violin instructor. And he's going to be talking with us as well, giving us some insights. How you doing, Professor GM?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be with all of you.
So yeah, you were on one of our classes a couple of months ago. So how's things been going since?
Oh, excellent. I've gotten a few more students since, and just had a class where 6 of my students played for a very prominent violin professor. All of them really played well. So I'm really been thrilled lately with the progress of my students. There's few things in life that are more satisfying to me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So yeah, I figured we kind of talked to everybody out there, just talk to them about some different methods that we teach out of and kind of see, everybody, I'm sure will get a good insight from both of us. So.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to go back to my video here. So what I'm going to start with is kind of giving you guys an insight to, where I start students. So a lot of times what I do is I have them work out of the Essential Element books. If you're just starting violin, it's a good place to start. Essential Elements has 3 books. It has book 1, 2, and 3. Each one kind of covers, different concepts progressively. By the time you're in book 3, you're learning third position. So it's a really good method. Typically it takes, I would say, a couple years for students to get through all these books, sometimes a lot sooner, sometimes longer, depending on how much you practice and progress. So yeah, I really recommend these books, and a really, really good place to start. So if you guys want to write that down, it's a good place to start. And typically what I recommend is that students always work through scales when they first start playing. The Essential Element books have scales in them, so that's kind of nice. Book 1 has scales C, G, and D majors, all in 1 octave, so it's pretty easy. Book 2 is going to have all of your basic sharp and flat scales, B flat major, A major. So it's going to be a little bit more scales for you to practice. And what I always have students do is go to those pages when they first start their lesson. So that's why those books are really nice for that. And then book 3 is actually going to have your 2 octave scales going into third position, and even has F major going into 5th position. So those are good for that. Once students start to progress past those books, I typically recommend the Introducing the Positions book. So if you guys want to write this one down, this is a good series. It introduces some more advanced, exercises in third position, and then also teaches students how to do 5th position, which is really important. So by the time you're done with this book, you're able to do 1, 3, 5 pretty well, hopefully. So really good series there. Next, I want to kind of talk about some etudes. So every student that I have typically has some sort of etude book that I work with them. And basically what etudes do, it helps you build different muscle memory, with different parts of music, jumping from string to string, doing different exercises that are going to build strength in the hand and the left hand. Typically the first etude book that I recommend is the Wolf Arts. You guys want to write this down. This is, I would say for students that have been playing, I would say a couple years typically, and then it's got third position exercises, so there's plenty to do in here. It ranges pretty long as far as you can be in this book for quite a while. You can actually get this book in the public domain, so if you just search Wolf Arts public domain, it should come up, and so it's totally free. You can start working on etudes in there. Maz's is also a really good one. It's going to teach you guys more 3rd and 5th position exercises. A lot of my students are in this book. This is also in the public domain. Anything that looks like this is going to be in the public domain. That's a really good book. This one's also really good. Sit. I typically like when I'm starting to teach students how to play in like 2nd position, 4th position. That's a really good book for that. So I highly recommend the Sit book. And then finally, Kreutzer, I would say, is every violinist knows of Kreutzer, and that's a really good method book. It's going to be more advanced. It's going to teach you a lot of different things, all positions. And typically, I don't have students working in here until they've been playing for probably about 8 years and above, although there's definitely some exceptions to that. So yeah, it's a really good etude book. So before I get into like the next segment, which I'm going to talk about kind of more performance books and kind of fun books, actually let's turn it over to Professor GM. So what do you think, everything so far I've talked about, as far as what do you work on with students, with scales, maybe some of the books if you want to comment on, as well as give your suggestions of stuff that you like to work on with students.
Yeah, Michael, those are all really wonderful suggestions. Kind of along the same, I find that the Wolfart are very good preparatory etudes for Kreutzer. However, I find myself teaching the 36 studies by Kaiser a little more often. They basically do the same thing, but there are 36 studies that start really with, similar to Wolfart. You have a C major détaché first position one that starts you off. So you get the arm levels right, arm levels right according to the string. You get basic good intonation, and then they get successively harder and harder as you progress through the 36 studies, and then you end up being ready for Kreutzer studies once you've graduated from them. So I've taken a few students through all 36, and they're wonderful technique builders. They also go through different bowings, through martelet, through colle, through dotted rhythms, etc., etc. There's some really nasty ones. I remember particularly there's one in F minor towards the end that's really hard intonation-wise. So that's one thing. As far as scales go, I think virtually everybody could benefit from the scale system that Ivan Galamian wrote. Galamain, who's pretty much considered probably the foremost violin teacher in America of the 20th century. He wrote a scale system, where the first page, I missed the name of the book. Okay, it's by the name of the studies, who wrote the study book is Kaiser, Kayser. But then as far as scales go, I always have my students get the Galamian scale book. The first page of that consists of 2 octave scales throughout all positions. So you start with A major, you play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in first position. And then you just simply move that up. So you start on B flat with first fingers, B, C, C sharp, D, etc., etc. Always starting on first finger, and so you get a feel for the intonation of each position along the fingerboard. And then it goes on to have scales with just one finger on one string. So you play, for instance, on G string, da 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 da, however slow or fast you like. And then da 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 da, all on one string. Wonderful stuff like that. And then you have 3 octave scales, 3 octave arpeggios. So again, and that's the Galamian, Galamain scale book. I believe somebody was just mentioning Itzhak Perlman, and Galamian was actually Itzhak Perlman's teacher, as well as most of the other famous violinists of the 20th century.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and one book too I recommend to you guys that's really good for scales is by Barbara Baker. It's Scales for Advanced Violinists.
Oh, Barbara. Yeah, I was about to get to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, sorry, Jim. But yeah, this is really good for like thirds, for chromatics, for octaves. It's got all the different combinations of tonics and melodics and harmonic minors. Really good. So yeah, I highly recommend this. I typically have students working through this when they're working through like more advanced Mazas or Kreutzer. So that's a really good method as well. So yeah, let's kind of talk next about like performance type books. Jim, I'm going to actually meet you a second. There we go. Your little feedback there. Basically, every student that I have, I always have work on, scales, etudes, and then also some sort of performance piece that they try to master. So I'm going to kind of pull some of those up for you guys. If you're more beginner, this series is actually really good. It's called Beautiful Music for Stringed Instruments. Excuse me one second, guys. I'm going to mute one of you guys right now. Sorry about that. Go back to me here. So yeah, this is a really good method, Beautiful Music for 2-stringed instruments. And there's actually 4 of these books. So these are really good for like performance, and they're actually all duets, which is really good. Next, the Suzuki method. Most people have heard of the Suzuki method. This is really good. It starts off real basic with, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and works your way up. By the time you're in book 2, you're doing, different patterns of key signatures, articulations. It's got a lot of famous tunes, famous classical tunes, so this is a really good book. It goes all the way to book 10, so by the time you're done with book 10, you're pretty advanced. This is also a good series that I like, intermediate solo pieces, and this is a 3-part series. This is something that I work with a lot of students as well. And then when you're more advanced, I mean, the sky's the limit. There's so much stuff out there in the classical repertoire. I like doing sites concertos. This is actually all 5 people concertos. These are really nice to work on with students. But, you know, there's plenty of stuff out there to work on, but those are just some suggestions. GM, what are some things that you like to work on as far as concertos or performance pieces with students?
Well, a few things I always find myself coming back to. I think one of the best pieces that students have benefited from are the concertos by a guy named Reading. And it's spelled R-I-E-D-I-N-G. Oskar Reading. I believe he was Hungarian or some kind of Eastern European nationality. But he wrote quite a few student concertos that are just wonderful to learn bow stuff and to learn left-hand stuff from. One I teach often is his concertino in D major, which I believe is opus 25, which goes and uses first, third, and fifth position. And it teaches you to use the whole bow and make a beautiful sound and have a correct point of contact and to do all the things your wonderful teacher is telling you to do. So the concertos by Reading, I think, are really good. Another thing I often teach are Handel sonatas. Handel sonatas are excellent for mastering basic technique. And actually, since Michael mentioned the Suzuki books, there's several Handel sonatas in books 6 and 7 of the Suzuki books. So you can find them there, especially the ones in D major and F major and in A major are really excellent.
Great. Thanks, Jim, for those insights. So yeah, there's a lot of good things out there for you guys to work on. Hope this gives you guys a good idea of some things that you might want to start getting into. Certainly having, scales, etudes, and pieces are really good to develop skill and technique and progress in the violin. GM's actually going to be doing potentially some courses starting in the next couple of weeks. So if you guys are interested in learning, for example, I believe he's going to do the Bach double. He's going to be teaching that soon. So if you guys are interested, feel free to email me with any questions on how to sign up. rivertownviolin@hotmail.com. And actually, both of us now are going to be answering questions to any students that are currently in the class. We have about 17 current people in the class. I'm just going to show you guys a view. If you guys all want to wave. So these are all our students that are currently participating, and we're going to stay with them for another half hour or so, kind of answering questions. Highly encourage you guys, if you guys are interested. And next week, Thursday at 9 o'clock, we'll be doing the same thing. I believe GM might even be joining us again. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys all have a great day.